and thank you for volunteering for the BVEF Art Docent program. The goal of this program is to teach art techniques to students as part of their art education. This lesson is called Starry Night. The inspiration is from Van Gogh's Starry Night painting, but it is also actually doing a painting of the celestial heavens instead of copying his artwork. So the goal here is that the kids are going to learn some techniques with tempera paint. Tempera paint is a very opaque paint, unlike watercolors. They do a lot of watercolors. And so they're able to layer opaque layers on top of each other by first building a background and then learning some techniques and putting them on top. So to begin with, I'm going to show you what we supply for this project. The Art Docent box is located in the main office. It's in the back, and so if you have problems locating it, just talk to somebody in the front desk and they'll tell you where to go. So in this box, we have black paper, one for each student, as well as some scratch paper, a variety of inspirational pictures, BVEF stickers to stick on the back of the artwork so parents know where it came from, the instruction manual, and this will involve the actual typed instructions. There will be enough in here. You don't need to add the ones you may have brought from home with your notes in it. There is red, yellow, white, and blue tempera paint. There is a bucket for water as well as brushes for painting. There are cups for water, enough for each student. There will be palettes, or probably paper plates. This one's actually mine for this demonstration, but you will have paint palettes. Dry sponges, old toothbrushes, and some paper towels. So here's what you've got in your bucket. The volunteer supply coordinator will make sure that you have enough paint, that the brushes look nice, that you have enough paper. They will make sure there's just enough for your lesson, so don't be surprised if at the end of your lesson you're only putting in a few sheets of black paper. What we're most concerned about at this point is if you get really low on the tempera paint, please go ahead and leave a note for the supply coordinator. Okay, so the lesson background, there's the instruction sheet which will be sent online. Go ahead and refer to that for some of the basic instructions about what a nebula is and what a starburst and a comet and how awesome our Milky Way is. There's not enough time to go into that today in this video, so you may not want to take too much time going over the science, and just go ahead and focus on the art techniques and the art part of this lesson. What we will be doing is a two-part piece. I'm going to start here. The first technique they're going to learn deals with the background, and they're going to be using sponges and they're going to be using toothbrushes to create kind of a celestial background, and you can see here just sort of these sparkly backgrounds of stars in the back. All right, so each student will get a black piece of paper and a paint palette, put about a tablespoon of paint of each color onto their palette. And we're going to start by using the dry sponge. And what we want to do is just, it's actually a completely dry sponge. I haven't added any water at all to this because I do want the most opaque kind of paint. And I'm going to just kind of dab it in the center of my palette. And then I'm going to dab it onto my black paper. And I'm going to go ahead and dip it in the white as well, because the great part of this black paper is getting these pops of color with the bright whites. Now I'm going to do a shape over here, and then I'm going to have a shape over here. And the other great thing about tempera is how well it cleans up. So I'm not concerned about my table, and you don't have to be concerned about the kids' desks as well. All right, so I'm going to keep my background pretty simple. You don't want to fill up the page at this point because we've got a lot of stuff that's going to be going on. That's going to be it with the sponges. Take them away from the kids. And then we're going to go to the toothbrush, and this is going to be a splatter technique. And this, again, we want to kind of watch the kids. They're not splattering each other as they will want to. This you want to get a little bit wet, and they may just go straight to the white for the most pop. And you can talk about what they're doing here is they're actually creating the really far away stars. And so by just kind of splattering across, they create this texture. It's a star pattern. And again, they want to be pointing at their paper, and they can kind of even get maybe some directional stuff going if they want to really kind of work it. But, you know, you want to watch out for the kid who's trying to splat their friend. So keep an eye out for that. Don't be stingy with the paper towels. I've already got a white thumb here. Okay, so that's it. This is going to be kind of your really quick part. You want to set this aside for later and pull in the second piece for them to learn their techniques on. All right, so our first technique, it's called pinpoints. Now they're all given a brush, and really it's pretty simple. They are dots, and these are far, or slightly closer stars. Now our stars are closer, and of course the bigger the dot, the closer the star. If they know any constellations, this might be where they do a little Orion belt going on. So pinpoints, that's it. Move on, clean your brush. Make sure they all have a towel, because they can use the towel first before they dip things in water, and that'll keep their water slightly cleaner. Spiral. So moving on to a spiral. You can also start to, encourage them. It's okay to do a little bit of paint mixing, and what they can do is they can dip into their blue and take an edge out of their white. And you can even point here to this. This is what we're doing here. This is a spiral here. So I really load it up with paint here. And I've got some white in there, but I haven't really mixed it. So you can see I've got a lot of different colors here on my paintbrush. Now I'm going to hold my paintbrush perpendicular to my paper, and I want to use my elbow and my whole shoulder. So I'm not trying to do a spiral like this. I'm actually using my whole body, so they can stand up for this. And the other thing is, you don't want to do a circle. So they're not doing a circle spiral. They're actually going to be doing, talk about ellipses. There you go. So it's got a little blue, it's got a little white, it's got a little stuff going on. Take your paintbrush, clear it off into your towel, and then rinse it. So they can practice spirals. Next is roll brush. Now this one I'm going to pick up two colors, and I think I'm going to do blue and yellow, and I'm going to load up with blue. I'm going to dip into yellow, and I think I'm actually going to take my yellow here from the center. Maybe that has a little white in it even. One more. All right, now what I'm inspired here is this Eagle Nebula, right? So it's got this kind of bright edge to it. So I'm going to lay my paintbrush flat on the paper, and I'm going to roll it. I'm going to kind of give it a little shape like that. And then you've got this kind of edge. It also makes me think of an aurora borealis, which I guess you wouldn't see that out in the middle of space, but it's still kind of cool. All right, so I'm going to load it up. I'm going to get some white in there too. Scoop up that yellow, and maybe this time I'm going to kind of go in a shape. Kind of roll it around, get some stuff going on here. Right? I'm going to come back, I'm going to pick this up, Leave no glops of paint behind. Maybe take a little more blue here. Add a little thickness. But again, I'm not painting the way they've been painting. I'm painting now with kind of these new techniques. So there we go. So that is a roll brush. And again, wipe it on the paper first. That gets a lot of paint off, so you're not filling your water up so quickly. All right, next one, pull out dry brush. This one the kids like a lot. So we're gonna load it up. I'm gonna do yellow this time. I'm gonna do a great big blop on my page. Wipe that off, rinse. And I don't want to water my paint down at this point. Now I'm going to get a great big blob of red. And I'm going to kind of push it around. Really get them together. If they touch, it's okay. In fact, I'm going to go around one last time and make sure they do. Okay, now clean off the brush. And also kind of flatten it. All right, now with this is where they can destroy that brush and pull it out. And about a quarter of the way through, they want to wipe off the excess paint because they want that dry brush, remember? Now we can talk about how this is an exploding star, or a meteor just hit something. But all these colors have blended together into this shape that's expanding out in your page. So that's pull out dry brush. All right, last one is going to be Comet. Now with Comet, I'm gonna do big full brush of red. And then I'm gonna dip that into the yellow. Just dip that tip into the yellow, scoop up a big pile of yellow. Now this one, they get to go ahead and smash that brush down the way they like to do it. And then pull it out. There you go, you got a comet. So there, it's the sweeping color. I drove the tail out, I lifted it up, and sweeping colors. Oop, clear your brush off. All right, so these are their techniques. Give them time. Let them explore, kind of have fun. I didn't add a lot of white, but now's where, if they feel like they need some white, they can add in to really lighten stuff up. So I'm just kind of picking up a little bit of white here. And then now my brush is wet, I'm gonna see what happens. I really have no idea what's gonna happen here. But that's what happened. So I added a wet white, for better or for worse. Yeah. They can also not be afraid. You know, so I added some white in here when I was rolling this one, and some white here. But really having these pinpoints going back at the end. You know, and you can show them on your sample page how different things can then be. You know, I think these pinpoints are what's really going to create a pop at the end. So, all right, so let them explore this. And when they feel they're ready and they've had fun, they get to put this aside, and now they get to look at their original piece, and they get to think, okay, I've learned all these techniques, so what was my favorite technique? Which one had the most pizzazz, the most interest to it? Which one am I going to apply here? And if, this should have had enough time to dry, so it should just stay in the background. It shouldn't mix at all with your other colors. And since mine is not dry, I'm going to go ahead and blot that up. Keep in mind, help them think through this. If they just pile everything on to this one page, nobody's going to really know where to look. There has to be kind of a focal point. And at this point, you can go back to looking at Starry Night by Van Gogh and how he's got those tall cypresses on one side and the moon on the other, and maybe that's what they think about. So for me, I'm going to start by putting what I'm calling the Eagle Nebula. I'm going to put my Eagle Nebulas up here, just like with Starry Night. And then I'm probably going to run a comet, maybe starting here and running that way. So as if the comet is swooping in this way. And then I'm going to take my pinpoints and add pinpoints all over the page. So that's my goal, and we'll see how it turns out. So in the end, I did the nebula over here. I've got the comet. I did my little spiral galaxies over here. I got a little excited. I have no idea what that is, but I'm okay with it. But I kept it pretty simple, so the composition had some strong elements with some light elements, and then I made sure to add a lot of little dots all around. Also, have the kids sign their name. Make it a real piece of art. And so that's it. So as far as the volunteers are concerned, just make sure everything gets cleaned up and put tidily away in our bucket. And on behalf of Bennett Valley Education Foundation, thank you so much for volunteering for this program.